Fantasy casting? What the heck does that mean? Tell me what the heck does that mean? What are we doing today?
I
Hi,
thought this
Tommy.
was a sci-fi show. I don't know what's going on.
How you doing, man?
I'm really good. I'm really happy to be here. Bit apprehensive about this episode. I've been.
Hi.
I don't know. I just feel like I'm gonna miss. I feel like you're gonna reveal your list. I mean, we'll talk about the format of the show in a minute, I'm sure, but I feel like I'm gonna see your list and just be jealous of every single one of your choices and wish I chose them.
Um, I do have the upper hand there. I was like, should I go ahead and send it to him or not? I'm interested to discuss this, but maybe we should tee up what we're doing first before we talk about the why we picked what we picked to give people context. Do you mind sharing?
Yeah, so we I don't know if you guys know this if you're watching. There's going to be a new Stargate show soon. So breaking news if you hadn't heard that yet somehow. Um, but today David and I are going to go through and discuss who we would like to see in the show. This isn't people that were already in Stargate that we want to come back because that would be an even longer list.
Yes.
But this is new people that would like to see on the show and kind of realistic answers as well. I mean, we'd all love to see I don't know, Denzel Washington in there, but that might not be so realistic.
Yeah. So I asked Tommy to put together a list of no A-listers or prominent B-listers that have been in films. So basically, no one who has had their name over the masthead of a film. Um, and there's going to be a lot of arguments about what that means because I'm going to bring some of these people up and they're going to be like, oh, there, a such and such. And it's like, I'm talking about someone who, if you say it to someone, they go, who was that again? Or someone who's like, you have to associate them with a character that they've done, even Richard Dean Anderson, some people will be at this time, people are like, MacGyver. Oh, okay. Yeah. So that he's had his masthead over TV films and things like that, and his name over the masthead over the title of obviously his series. So that's like the grouping of actors that we're looking for. And even I cheated once because this was a minor. One of my people was a minor guest star in one episode of Stargate, but I really have loved this
Ooh.
actor and I wanted to bring them in. So even as like if you come up with anyone while we're talking that's like, you know what? I really should have mentioned this. We're not locked into 15. Jot it down, and at the end we'll poke them around and look at them too. I'm really interested in everyone's thoughts for the comments section about based on this input, who they would like to see, who would make sense. So no Tom Cruises or anything. Who would the people who like the new show would have a reasonable budget and shot at getting. Not that we're going to help with casting, but if these people show up, or some of them, or maybe even one of them, I don't think Tommy and I will complain. So,
Absolutely not. I'm actually kicking myself now that I've heard that you've cheated on one of them because there was someone who was on my, on my original list that I found out was in like an episode of Stargate really early on. I was like, oh, I'll have to disqualify them. And I can't even remember who it was now, which is
if it
killing me.
comes up,
So
let me
hopefully I
know.
remember. Yeah.
If it comes up, let me know what that is and who that is, and we will add them for sure. But let me go ahead and get this in position here so that we can talk about these. I actually went to ChatGPT and I said, generate the IMDb lists of all of these actors for me. And it generated IMDb lists, and about a third of them are not the actor that is in the name that you're clicking on. This technology is just nowhere near ready.
Yeah. It's
Sometimes,
not. It's not
sometimes it
there
does
yet.
brilliant, and other times it's like, okay, I clicked on um, uh, one of mine, and I got Daniel Day Kim, who was in the same television series, and it's like, guys, give me a break. So work better. Ready to get started?
I'm so ready.
Okay, here we go. Lucas Till. That's one of
Yeah.
yours,
So I
right?
mean, yeah. I mean, you could ask yourself, what is it that made SG1 so successful? And
I'm not
I mean,
sure.
we'd all have very different answers, I think. I think there's a million different things, but Really, I think what made it so successful is that they had MacGyver in the show, right? And so I thought, well, Richard Dean Anderson is he's pretty much retired at this point. So how's
Mm-hmm.
this new show going to be successful? Well, luckily for us, there was a whole other MacGyver, so we could just cast MacGyver again.
Oh, this is great. Now, you're okay with these people being regulars or guest stars, I'm guessing?
Yeah, a bunch of mine. Um, to be clear, I actually really like Lucas Tilbert. This was a bit of a joke answer, but for a bunch of mine, I have kind of said like, okay, this could be a lead in the show. This could be a kind of one-off, someone I'd just like to see in certain roles. There's some where I've tried to kind of cast them in a type of role, and there's others where I've just thought, God, the range on this person, they could play kind
Exactly.
of anything, which is quite exciting. Those are the ones that excited me the most. But
Exactly.
to be clear on Lucas Till, he's obviously in X-Men First Class as well, which
Yep.
is a
Is
big
he
studio
supersonic?
film. He is no, he is
Was he?
um he's
I
Scott
can't
Summers'
remember.
older brother. I forget his name. Alex
Oh, okay.
Alex Summers. Yeah.
Okay, got it. What was
Uh
his handle though? Like
yeah, I can't think of his name now. God, I'm losing my nerd cred.
Havoc.
Havoc,
He played
Havoc, Havoc.
Havoc.
Yes, yes,
That's
yes,
it.
yes. I actually love that
Very
film as
good.
well. I love a good period sci-fi thing like that. Um,
Absolutely.
I thought he kind of had like leading man potential. I was surprised that he kind of went down on a show like MacGyver. To be honest with you,
He's also young, so
very
he's got
true.
some room to expand and grow. Um, Perhaps on Stargate. So, but that's yeah,
Perhaps.
I think that he would be a fun choice. So when you said that earlier on, you said like your first one was kind of silly. I wanted to go with someone who is more of a comedic actor, but also does who could play a silly part. I guess that's not really what you meant by silly, but who could. I'm still very serious about this actor, just like you were about MacGyver. DJ Qualls. Uh,
Oh
this guy,
yeah.
he's known for obviously the what is it? What is it? Badass? What is the oh God, what's it called? What was that first? Let me see here, all the way down.
I remember
Um,
him from Scrubs.
Scrubs, Road Trip.
Road
Um,
Trip. Yeah.
yeah, I first saw him in The Core. Um, I can't
Oh
even
yeah, he's
think of
on
the name of the
Lost
show.
as well.
Smartass. What? Yes, he was in an episode of Lost. Um, but this guy has got chops. Breaking Bad, that's right. He had
Mhm.
undercover cop.
That was
So
brilliant.
I think that he would have a lot to contribute to the show, and I just think that he's fascinating to watch. So he's uh, my first on my list. A lot of these, I'm ashamed to say I'm not familiar with. Lloyd Everett.
Are you familiar with Lloyd Everitt? Out of interest?
Um, I am not off the top of my head. Okay, so Alien Earth, The Sandman. Okay, what have you seen then that
Yeah,
you really liked?
the Sandman. So I actually
Really?
met Lloyd at Basingstoke Comic Con, which the very first one, which had a lot of Stargate cast at, but also Lloyd was there, and it was only off the back of this that I watched Sandman. I'm a big comic book fan,
Okay, I've
despite not
seen season
remembering
one.
Havoc's name. Yes, he's in season one.
He
Do you
is.
remember this sequence? So he's part of this couple, and I thought he had such an incredible like humanity to him. I mean, he looks like he could be an action hero for one. I feel like
Yeah,
he would fit right into an SG team. But he also just
yeah.
had so much depth and humanity that I just thought someone like this is about to break out really big, in my opinion. And I think capturing an actor like that in Stargate would only be a good thing. I just think he's a really a real upcoming talent. So I'd love to see him on the show.
Great choice. No, very good. I like this one. Um, this guy, if you had to name the most terrifying villain in a film, who would you pick?
Personally, I would
Genuinely scary.
genuinely scary, I probably go towards God. Um, uh, well, I can't even think of his name. Silence of the Lambs. Anthony Hopkins. Sir Anthony Hopkins probably is the number one for me. Who have you got? Are you going to
As
terrify me?
Hannibal Lecter?
Yes.
Really? He never really bothered me that much.
I think it's how much he didn't care about anything. Like it was
Yeah.
so, and he's so intelligent, and it's not like someone that's kind of like evil for the I don't know, like for
Just
the sake of it almost. It's just so just like I'm just gonna do it, and it just that
just
kind of
dispassionate.
unhinged. Yeah, yeah, that kind of really gets under my skin a little bit. It was always
Awesome.
yeah.
For me, it is Anton Chigurh in
Oh, great
No
choice.
Country
No
for Old
Country.
Men. Javier Bardem. I remember watching this scene for the first time. We see him set up a little bit earlier in the film, and then we get to a service station scene with a guy behind the counter. I can't remember being more tense watching a scene before. I'm getting goosebumps just it's also cold in here. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about this scene because he is so good at playing uh, in the film he basically considers himself to be a tool of fate with a coin between him and his prey. And the coin decides whether or not you will die. Uh, it's an extraordinary book, more than the movie, and the movie is brilliant. And I watched them in that order, and I was like, "This if they can't get this actor right." And then I went and saw the movie, and I was like, "This is intense." So Javier Bardem, I have enjoyed him in everything that I have seen him in. I think that he's versatile.
Yeah.
Um, and I even liked him in Little Mermaid as King Triton. He was my favorite part of
Yeah,
Little Mermaid.
he was a
He
great
was a
King
good
Triton.
Triton.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
He's
absolutely.
he's a phenomenal actor. He's so good in Skyfall. He's so good in
Oh, I've not seen
Dune.
it. Dune, yes.
Um,
Yes, he
yeah,
is excellent in Dune. So Stilgar, that's right. I'm looking forward to having him back um in Messiah. And if they do Children of Dune, he will be in that one as well. He'll come full circle. Are you
I
looking forward
almost
to the next
considered him
Dune?
too. I can't wait. I can't wait for the next Dune. That franchise has just blown me away.
I hope
I've
so.
I've
I
actually
hope it
never read
sticks
the
around.
books, but
Oh,
I've thoroughly enjoyed it. There's like a lot of books, right? It's like 20 books or something. Like there's
yeah.
so many.
The
Yeah,
first few are Herbert. It's my dad's favorite book. What
right.
about what about Javier? You were about to say?
He almost struck me as too big, right? Like he almost like missed my list, I think, because he's I mean he was in F1 as well, nominated for Best Picture, and
Oh yeah, you
I
can
guess I just
definitely.
sort of in my head was kind of in that category. But I mean also Robert Carlyle was a very big actor. He was in Oscar
Oh
nominated
yeah,
movies as well. So
absolutely. So it's someone who could reasonably kind of be in that position for sure. Here, let me pull this up. Henry Ian Cusick.
yes. So uh Lost was actually my favorite TV show for a very, very long time. I absolutely adore that show.
To this
You're a
day,
fan too? Oh yeah.
have I never shared
And
this with you? It's my favorite show of all time.
well, we have got a lot to talk about because I love that
A
show.
lost to
When I
talk
was in
about.
school, we when I was in school, we had to I can't remember how old I was, but we had to choose a topic and we could choose any topic we wanted. And most people
Oh,
picked
4 to 10.
historical events. And I, of course, did my whole topic on my theories on Lost. And I had a whole thesis on the Dharma Initiative and and like how like, elements of the logo and like the Korean flag. And I had all this stuff going on. And Desmond was always my favorite character on Lost. So
Him and Penny are
I
the best
love Henry
couple.
Ian Cusick. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, completely agree.
easily.
Completely agree.
If you've still
Not
got
Penny's
it,
boat.
I'd love to read it. Not Penny's Boat. God,
Yeah, I
man,
think about
that
that all
just
the
rings
time.
so right. Exactly. Yeah. No, if you've still got the paper somewhere. I'd love to, if you can dig it up, I'd love
Oh,
to read
I
it.
don't know if I do.
He,
It'd probably be somewhere. But the thing
it's
what I
fair.
really like about Henry and Cusick is I also watched some of the 100. I don't know if you've ever seen that show,
I
and
haven't.
he's like the villain in that, which is
Really?
for me, yeah, it's completely stark. I mean, Desmond's like the kind of happy-go-lucky, kind of depressing story, but still kind of somewhat enjoyable and pleasant to be around. But he's just like a straight um, villain in the show, and he was so good. And as I said at kind of
Wow.
top of the show, I love an actor with range. I love someone that can play hot or cold. That full spectrum in between. And he's that guy. I could see him as the leader of an expedition. I could see him as the overarching nemesis of the show. I could see him as a politician that comes in for a couple of episodes. I could just see him in so many different roles, and I think he's such an exciting actor that I think he would be a great addition to the show.
Wow. That's a solid one for sure. No. I my next one, I one of my favorite movies growing up and to this day is My Best Friend's Wedding.
Oh
And
yeah,
there's a low point in the film where Julia Roberts is outside of the hotel room of her best friend, and a bellhop walks by, and she's smoking. And he asks her to put it out, and it's three of the best minutes committed to film. Do you know who I'm talking about?
no, I don't remember the scene. Oh my God, yeah, he's one of the greatest actors working. Period.
He was wonderful in that scene. I had never seen him in anything before, and he's spectacular. Paul Giamatti can do Black Mirror right there. Can do
That's a great
anything.
episode too. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's such a talent.
yeah. Um, Versatile as hell. Uh, he did a movie called The Holdovers, which
Fantastic film.
so good. It's like it was plucked out of an alternate reality 1970s.
Yeah,
Right down to the glass that they used in the lens that they filmed it on, and like it was it they made it could have been out of the 1970s, the whole thing, and it was shot digitally, and then to my knowledge, and then transformed to make it look like that. I think it's even in mono. I don't think it's in 5.1. It's just a brilliant movie, and he is fantastic in that as the educator who's stuck at the university, who has to stay with the kids over holiday break, who have uh, not been invited home. But a great actor. This next one here, um, I'm actually concerned that it's not actually going to load. Is it this guy?
it is that guy. Yeah, so
Okay.
this is someone else. So it's really you're going to see through my list how my brain kind of works because I'll think of an
Okay.
actor from a show and then I'll think, oh, there's another actor on that same show that was really good.
Of
And
course.
so this is Richard Harmon. He was also in the 100, and
Okay.
um, he's such an interesting um actor. I think again very versatile. It looks on the surface like he kind of plays like a bit of a sarcastic kind of villainous kind of guy, but again, in the show, he has a bit of an arc to him. He kind of changes around, and what it really reminded me of, or made me think of, is that brilliant McKay arc. I can talk all day about McKay's arc in Stargate and how like wonderful I think it is. And I think Richard Harmon could do a really interesting modern twist on that. I think the kind of scientific genius that we see in the zeitgeist now more often is the kind of tech bro kind of genius that's like kind of frustrating. And I'm not entirely sure how that would fit into the new show. I'm not in the writer's room, sadly. But I would love it if there was a character like that kind of modern tech kind of genius. And I think Richard Harmon would be perfect for that. Like kind of a young guy, kind of a bit cocky, a bit arrogant, bit of an anti-hero, antagonistic kind of person that could have that kind of journey that McKay has and be perhaps
And can
heroic or
dispense the information forwarding dialogue, or the story forwarding
absolutely.
dialogue. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. So I just thought that would be a really interesting character to see and a person to play them. So yeah.
For sure. Can you pull up your list while we're talking so that you can tee up some of yours before I show them, like I'm doing with mine?
Yeah,
Okay, sweet. Did you watch Mr. Robot?
I loved Mr. Robot. Yeah.
There was a character who was introduced in the last season of the show, who was the television equivalent of Anton Chigurh. It was a gal, and she was terrifying, um, and brilliant. John Linick was producer on uh, on the last season of Mr. Robot after Stargate, and I texted John as I was watching Mr. Robot. I said, "This woman is so good." Ashlie Atkinson. She played she worked for a kind of a clandestine organization, illegitimate, and she was scary as hell and blew me away. Like I, and how she could turn on a dime and just turn it off. Like someone does something to her and and gets in the way of one of her objectives, and she's a part of this multi-billion-dollar dark web organization, and she just stares at the person, and you know that she's now going to kill them, and she just goes okie dokie, and she walks out, and like you're on pins and needles the entire time in this. She's one of the characters. She gets into a lesbian romance with, and then like halfway through the dinner, you find out that she's actually there to, I think, threaten to kill your mother if you don't do exactly what she says in the scene in Mr. Robot. She's just brilliant. You give these actors on our list here, I'm sure on yours, the right dialogue and the right character, and they just mop up the floor. And that's her. So, or did you remember her at all when I mentioned
Yeah,
her?
once you showed the picture, I knew who you was talking about. That's such a great choice, such a left field choice as well.
Yeah.
Who would you like to see her play? Like, is there anyone specific you could see her as in Stargate?
I didn't really think of it that way. I didn't think of I can't see her in anything specific. She's so well rounded and can do anything from administration to, I mean, to having her be one of the parents of the leads, or a you know or a partner. Um it's She's so deep. So yeah, I
Mm.
can I'm pretty flexible with it. The next gentleman on your list, what do you know him from?
So I first saw this actor in Torchwood. I don't know if you. I'm not really a Doctor Who guy or anything like that, but I'm English and I grew up in England, so for me it was just kind of it was on TV. We kind of
We'll give
have
it away,
to.
Tommy.
It's part of our the rules of our TV license that we have to watch at least some sort of Doctor Who at some point. Um, but Torchwood was always interesting when I was a teenager because it was kind of like the edgy version, and he was a really interesting character on that. And then he went in to be in films like The Dark Knight Rises,
Whoops.
oh, and so on. And that's Burn Gorman. So he's really interesting. I don't know if you saw the show The Offer as well, which is about how The Godfather got made back in the 70s.
No.
He plays like a German, the German head of Paramount at the time, and he's kind of just funny, but like intimidating. He's like the big boss, and it's like kind of scary, and like you think he can blow up at any
Interesting.
minute. But it's kind of funny. Like he's got like a real edge to it, and he plays it like so well. But again, he's
Oh,
got
there we
range.
go.
In Torchwood, he's the kind of like funny, light-hearted guy that's part of the team, cracking the jokes. Um,
Interesting.
I think he's got that kind of political edge to him, kind of an alien. He could be, sorry, he could be an
Yeah.
alien, could be like a scientific, on that side of things. Again, I love range, and I think he could
I'm
be
seeing
big
it in
and
these
eccentric.
pictures.
And
Yeah.
this is it. This is from The Offer. This is that was the German guy with Ben Mendelsohn there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think he's a really exciting actor. I think he's really, really cool, and he's kind of been around the block. You know, he's worked in a lot of sci-fi and stuff before. So yeah, I think he'd be great.
Yeah, he would make a lot of sense. Genre fans would be familiar with him for sure. That's a good one. Um, this next one here, uh, is, is someone whom you will recognize. Uh,
Ooh,
when Lost was created, they did something, and I'm relearning this again. There's a fan-made documentary that's like 4 hours long that just covers the beginning of the show, that just covers creating the pilot, and it's on YouTube. I
wow,
ripped it just in case the Lost documentary gets it taken down. Um, and one of the things about Lost that is interesting is they had the idea for the show, but the characters, it was a brilliant they never had to like certain like all the time you say, I can't find any role for this any person to play my character. That there's no one out there who fits this box, who I can fit like a cat into a box. When they created Lost, they uh they auditioned actors, and the actors played one or two of the characters that were probably going to be written, and they played that set of lines again and again and again. And the casting people sat through and hired the people that they wanted to that and the writers hired people that they wanted to write characters for, which was a brilliant way to do it. And I think it's one of the reasons why the show has such good actors, because they shaped the characters based on the actors, a piece of them. This person ends up in the pilot, but doesn't have any dialogue for a few episodes. And she was a part of one of my favorite two or three couples in the show. L. Scott Caldwell played Rose.
what a great
Um,
choice.
she is a favorite of mine. Um, there is this scene in they have she and Bernard have their first flashback in season two, and there's a scene of them at Niagara Falls. I can't get through it without uh, well, bawling like a baby. I'm not. It's ugly cries. It's ugly cries.
Yeah.
Like the end of the show. I cannot recommend her enough. Any thoughts on her?
Yeah, she is. She's the heart and soul of that show as well.
Yeah.
She, it's so easy on a show like that to kind of get frustrated when the character stuff happens, and it's especially in episodes when they're building towards certain action
Hmm.
moments or a big reveal or something like that. Sometimes you get sucked
That's right.
into these moments and you think like, oh, this is a bit of a waste of time. Come on, get to it. But that never happens with her. Like it's always so interesting, and she's always such warmth to her. It feels kind of like, all these people are away from home, and it just feels like a home moment, like they're home.
She
And
has
it's
come
just,
home in the
yeah,
story. She
yeah,
doesn't want to leave, as she's the only one. Well, there's a couple of others, but yeah.
yeah,
And you
yeah,
feel
yeah.
that in
I
this
don't think Locke's
character.
keen on leaving. Yeah, it's
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, that is a fantastic choice. I've not really seen her in much else, to be honest with you. Um,
I've seen her in a couple of other things, but yeah. She's
uh,
she's just always been like anytime that I see her on something, it's just I will stop and watch it. But yeah.
uh, can I call an audible that's not on the prepared list because I just thought of someone based on an image that I just saw then.
Yes,
Um,
please.
uh, it's Mark Evan Jackson. So I just saw an image from Brooklyn Nine-Nine and it made me think of Mark Evan Jackson. So Mark Evan Jackson's a brilliant comic actor. But it also turns out he is one of the biggest Stargate fans I've ever met. And
Seriously.
I've it turns out I've met quite a few Stargate fans, and he is one of the biggest. And when we did Stargate AI back in the day, he saw a tweet from Brad about it and
Ah,
asked us if we could
yes.
join. So he actually hosted the Stargate AI for us because he's just such a huge fan of the show and said he would do anything to be on the new show. So I thought, if I'm doing my fantasy casting, why don't I make his wish come true? Because he's also actually a really good actor and he's really, really funny. And I think it would be great to find a role for him on the new show.
You know who else is a big, a huge Stargate fan?
Richard Madden.
That's it.
Yes. Woo.
How did you know that?
I just know he's also a big Stargate fan. We tried to get him on. I think we tried to get him on Brad's podcast, but we just
Oh,
couldn't get it to work because yeah, we just thought
okay.
that'd be fun for him as
I've
well.
been trying to get him on Dial the Gate because he's seen every episode, so he's on record. I would love to have a true Stargate fan among the cast of SG4, just like Paul Giamatti was for Starfleet Academy. Paul's seen everything, so there's I think I don't know about the utility of having an actor who knows the content through and through. Uh, it's not the same thing as like oh God, Christopher Lee for Saruman, but in Lord of the Rings. But I think that it would be an added incentive because like they would be all over it in terms of like the marketing and being it would be a genuine excitement rather than okay, this is my job to be excited about this project that I created, even though I may even love the content, I may not love the content. I think that that would really work for him.
Yeah, there's a
Um,
certain authenticity to it that's just great, right? I mean, it's certainly, I mean, as a fan, I wouldn't say it's a requirement for me that the lead in the new show has to have seen every episode. And I'm certainly not saying they have to
yeah.
do a Ben Browder and watch them all. It would be nice if they saw some, but
Only after he
to
was
have
hired.
only after, yeah. But to actually have someone that is a genuine fan, that
Yeah,
would be really exciting for me. That would be really, really cool.
that's it. Who's this last that's on your next?
Oh, so this was an interesting one. I was kind of like thinking of different shows, and I was kind of thinking through Stargate actors, and naturally, you could sort of go through a bit of a list. And I was thinking of Jason Momoa and his show
Yep.
C, which I actually never finished the show, to be fair, and I should go back and watch it because
Really?
I was having a lot of fun with it. I was having a lot of fun with it. It was one of those things where it just dropped off my radar for a little
Yep.
while.
Yep.
But I will go back. But so Olivia Cheng is my next choice, and she was also in Marco Polo, which is really good. Um,
Really?
but she's just someone again who's got kind of like that warmth that I was talking about, but um, also like ready for action, has authority about her,
Okay.
and just all key traits of someone that I'd love to see in and around Stargate Command. I mean, hopefully not a villain. I always worry for my heroes when someone formidable is against them, but I think I think she's fantastic, and I don't think she's been in enough.
Okay.
For what I'd like to see. So yeah, she was a bit of a left field choice, but I'm quite happy with it, to be honest. I
Okay.
think she's great.
I like her. Yeah, I think there's a ton of room for some left field choices here. Um, the next one uh, on my list is definitely a familiar face in our fandom, or not in our specific fandom, but in general. I had always adored her before they got her for Battlestar Galactica, but when she became Laura Roslin, it was like she's a huge part of the soul of that series. Mary McDonnell, I have adored since Dances with Wolves. She is one of the most genuine actors. I've been told repeatedly on this show about that. Um, and there are no pictures of her, just the stuff that she's been in. Okay, that's fine. Um, but uh, the range on her is ridiculous. Like I would listen, I would listen to her read the phone book. Um, she's solid. So, and I know you're a Battlestar fan, so
I'm a huge Battlestar fan, actually, and it's interesting. That show for me came out at a time when I was really into kind of action and exciting stuff. Big Star Wars fan. I want my big space battles and things like that. So when I started watching Battlestar, and it's kind of not really about that. I remember first thinking like, oh man, like when are they going to get back to the space battles? And then it kind of gets to a point
It's a part of
when
it.
you're like 3 or 4 episodes in, it's like you start thinking, oh man, when's this space battle going to be over? I want to go and see, I want to go see all the politics, and I want to go and see all all of this stuff.
That's right.
And
She had
she's
her
a
own
huge
ship.
part of that. Yeah, yeah. Oh God, I love that show. Every time I can't talk about Battlestar Galactica without going, I need to rewatch it. It's
I
time. It's
know.
time for like my sixth rewatch or whatever. I love that
I
show so much.
One of my producers, Jacob Oleash, I finally got him to sit down and watch it, and we watched a lot of the last season together, and like Revelations, and sometimes a Great Notion, and I mean, I didn't want him to watch that alone. I did the Stargate podcast with Darren, and we also talked about Battlestar along that when it was airing. And I'll never forget Darren's quote about sometimes a great notion. This is the episode after a huge, huge letdown. And he was like, this episode kicks you to the ground and stomps on your groin. I've never forgotten that. Like, yeah, yeah, it does. Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
not
it's
wrong.
it's taken from, I forget the song that it's based on, but it talks about self-deletion is what is the, and there is some of that in that episode. So it's very um appropriate. But yeah, no, and then coincidentally enough, this was an accident. I just threaded these together. I did see her on your list before, but I did not mean for these to come after one after the other. What about your next person?
So my next person is, of course, in Battlestar Galactica, but is also a bit of a staple in sci-fi in general. I think she's been in 3 different franchises I can think of off the top of my head, possibly more.
She's a fixture at
But
Dragon Con.
oh, is that right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Katee
So
Sackhoff.
it's Katee Sackhoff, who's incredible. I could gush about her all day long because again, she seems like such a fan. Like she seems to really, really enjoy the work that she's in.
Classic.
She's
Yes.
of course incredible in Battlestar, but I also really like her as Bo-Katan in The Mandalorian, and of
Haven't
course
seen it. Just the animated.
Rebels and Clone Wars. Yeah, so yeah, so
Yeah.
she I'm so glad she reprised it in live action because of course it's Katee Sackhoff. I don't know if you
Right.
saw the third Riddick film as well. I believe it was called Riddick.
She's brilliant in that.
She's so good in
She's
that film. That
topless
film
in
is
that.
oh in the shower. I think you're
Oh
right. Yeah,
yeah. It's a good
but
movie. I
it's a
have been
really good
waiting for
film.
Furia to come out for years.
It
And
was
I think
such a
it may have
great
been
choice.
filmed. So
Oh, really?
I think
It
it
was
I
such a
think it may
great
have been.
choice to go small again because what made the
Yes,
first Pitch Black so good is that it was this kind of small indie movie that felt
that's
bigger than
right.
it was, and then they got loads of money and kind of made
Expanded the universe.
Macbeth in space and
That's
kind
right.
of threw Riddick in there. And then
Yeah.
they just went small again, and that was such a good choice because it's a great survival horror sci-fi action thriller, and it's just perfect. And she's one of the best parts of that film.
She's one of the best parts.
Um,
I'm going to have to sit down and watch. I would enjoy watching that with you at a certain point because I just like maybe we should like get on a Zoom at some point and sit down and watch that. I would really. I've only seen it once and I loved it.
Yeah.
That
Underrated
that is
gem. Not a lot enough people saw that film.
for sure. No, Pitch Black, it was one of my favorite movies at the time that it came out. And then a few years later, they announced Chronicles of Riddick. And it was so strange and unique and beautiful at the time to see this little indie film get blown into this sci-fi epic where you saw one planet and a few characters in that first movie, and then they wrote the world around it for the next one, an alien invasion on their galaxy. I enjoyed the second film very much, but it was like they had taken R and made it PG-13,
Mm.
and then they went right back to it in Riddick. And Vin Diesel loves the character as much as anyone else does. So it's one of those where like you can see it in the DNA of the movie how much the lead loves what it is that he's creating, just loves the character. So great choice, Katee Sackhoff. Are you watching any of her podcasts with her husband at all?
No, no, I've not seen any of that.
She's
No,
doing clips. They're rewatching
yeah, she's
Battlestar
doing
together.
really
She's
well
never
on
seen
the
it.
podcast. Oh,
Yes,
that's crazy. That is crazy. I'll
I
have to check
know.
that out. A friend of mine actually dated her like many, many years ago, and they've still stayed in touch and good friends. And I think he's helping her
Not
with that
surprised.
podcast. But yeah, she is incredible. So I would love to see her in Stargate. See if I was to order my list, because I told you I kind of sent you the list as I kind of
Yeah,
thought of them. Um, Katee might be the top of my list.
that's fair. No, I completely agree. This next one, he has been in films. I don't think he has ever been the starring role in an A or B level film. Um, and remember, there's like C and D and E level films too, folks. We can argue about that in the comments. See you there. Um, but I know him first and foremost from his television as Leonardo da Vinci in Voyager, first and foremost, and as Sala as well. John Rhys-Davies is a gem. Uh, One of my favorite all-time actors. You know what? Come on.
What is
Just want
with
to see pictures
IMDb?
of the man. I know they go to those first. I'm just going to skip down to the folders, the photos. But he's another one who can do anything. Be anyone. I look at him like I look at Tony Amendola. Like he's got that look where
Mm,
he can be from 80% of the earth and you can't tell. Like he can just slip into those characters. I mean, this was before, okay, we want this kind of this character for that part, so we must go to this part of the world to get them. Like before we did that, like genres that you can do anything with him. You can fold him into so many different cultures and people. Eric Avari as well.
yeah.
Um, I've always loved this actor.
Is he Welsh? Where's he from, John Rhys-Davies? Sounds like a very Welsh name, but he is a fantastic choice. He's so good in Raiders of the Lost Ark. He's obviously so good in Lord of the Rings.
Where is he from? He lives in New Zealand now. He's from Salisbury.
Oh,
He's your
there you go.
countryman.
He's one of mine. Oh yeah, no, he's a Welsh actor. He is Welsh.
Yeah.
Salisbury. Where's Salisbury then? Or did he maybe he just grew up in
Hmm. Let me see
we're
here.
doing some geography now.
It says, yeah, it says he's from Wiltshire.
Huh.
Yeah. You never know about some of these people. So, very good. Who's next on your list?
So we're staying. Well, we're going back to Battlestar Galactica for me, which is. I think I mentioned this about one of the other actors earlier, where I just couldn't believe I've not seen them in
Uh-huh.
just so much more, or just in
Uh-huh.
everything. And this is Callum Keith Rennie, who played the number twos, off the top of my head, in Battlestar. I thought he's so talented. I remember saying at the time like this guy's gonna win an Oscar someday or something. Like he is such a talented
He
actor.
is brilliant and he's had a rough history. He wears it on his face and it comes into his characters. He is so good.
That's
I have seen
that's
him in a
really
number
well
of
done.
things.
He
Um,
I mean there's the I don't want to spoil it for anyone that's not seen Battlestar, but there's a very particular scene in Battlestar Galactica with him. Um and it's probably like my favorite scene in the whole show. And it's just him sitting in a chair is all I'll say. And it's just phenomenal that
Season
what he
one?
does. Ooh, no, I don't remember the
Okay.
season.
Okay. Well, season one, there's a big sequence, a big episode with him in season one. So the scene you're talking about is not from that. So we'll talk about that offline. Um,
Yeah.
no, he's extraordinary. I saw him on your list, and I'm like, no, this is absolutely a great choice. Good pick. I've never seen him in anything that I didn't like, and he's one of those like I can't wait for his autobiography because
Mm.
he's such a lived actor. Uh, he's up there with Danny Trejo in that regard. In fact, Danny Trejo would have been on my. You know what? Yeah, I really wanted to put Danny Trejo on my list, um, but he brings that to his parts. You see it in the back of his eyes, and like you can just tell. Like I knew the first time that I had seen him as Leoben. I was like, this guy looks like he's had an interesting life. And I went and he did. I went and read about him and it was true. So
I
This
just
next
looked it up, by the way. It was season one. It was we'll probably talk about the same episode, Flesh and Bone.
with Katee.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So good.
I'm
What a
sorry,
talent.
you're God. All right, we'll give you a second for that one. Oh man, so good. That whole episode works except when she puts her hand on the glass as well. I'm like, I don't buy that. But every
It's
single
fair.
other moment of that episode works. This next one, I can't say enough about this actor. I have seen him in everything. There is not a part he has been in that I did not love. Clancy Brown.
He was this close to being on my list. He was this close.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Tell me about
That's
what you
so
love about
funny.
him.
Um, what don't I love about him? I think I first saw him in
That
Starship Troopers,
voice.
probably. Yeah, that
Oh
voice is
man.
so good.
Is this your
He's
signature, Rico? Doesn't look like it to me.
he's so damn talented. But he's one of those guys that's so like physically imposing and intimidating looking. But he also plays
That's
some of these
right.
characters that are so like light and approachable, and he kind of has a warmth to him, and it's just
He can bring it
yeah.
down to soft. He
Oh
was
my God.
great in Shawshank.
Yeah.
That's right, Dexter. That's right. Or no, Smoke Signals. Excuse me. Yeah, Dexter New Blood. But no, he can be anything.
Yeah.
Just there is a uh like I would love to watch him in Shakespeare. Like I think that anything Shakespeare, I think he would be absolutely delicious to watch. Um, Tell me about your next
Yeah.
one.
Just last thing on Clancy Brown is he was like my kind of like who would be a great general, like who would be like that kind of guy, and I was like, oh, Clancy Brown would be brilliant at that, and I guess he just didn't kind of make my list in the end, but I'm so
No,
glad
no, a
that
good
he was on
choice.
yours so we could still talk about him
Yeah,
because
we still
he's
got
so
him.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because he
we still
can.
got him.
Yeah, he's just got that flexibility. So I to this day, I'm so conflicted about Beau Bridges being the general because I
Mm,
know that he and Lou Gossett Jr. Uh, like in season 9, they had the pick of the litter, and
mm,
Lou Gossett could have easily been Landry. I think he would have been a great Landry. Uh, the man looks awesome in uniform. So it's just one of those that I'm still devastated I never got to sit down and talk with him
mm.
and get his Stargate story for the show. But just awesome human being. We're going back to Lost.
Of course we are. Yeah, I honestly I love Lost so much.
I
And I
can't
even
wait to
mentioned it
talk to you
earlier.
about it.
Not Penny's boat, right? And um, I couldn't have Desmond without Penny. So, but
Absolutely.
do you know what I actually really loved her in? I don't know if you ever saw the show Flash Forward when that was on
Didn't
back
see
in the
it.
day.
Was she a regular?
She was the lead, and it also
Really?
had it also had I forget his name now. Is it Dominic Monaghan? I don't know
Yes.
what his name is. Yeah, he's also on the show. Smaller role. Um,
Okay.
but I loved her in that. I mean, again, she seems so intelligent, so capable, so strong.
Yep.
Yeah, there's an emotional edge to her as well that I think is just like really interesting. I think her eyes, like she's so emotive with her eyes, and I think that's it's
Mm-hmm.
the window to the soul, right? It's a powerful
Mm-hmm.
tool,
Well,
and
when like Desmond breaks her heart once or twice in Lost, I mean, she just wears it. She is like Judith Light, man. She just turns it on. Uh, she's great. She's a great choice.
yeah, I mean,
Um,
imagine her, in an Elizabeth Weir kind of role, right? Like
yes,
she would kick ass doing something like
I
that.
think
Oh,
so. I think she
love
would have
it.
been an excellent Elizabeth Weir. Have you seen Night Sky?
No.
A short-lived show, only one season, got canceled, but is self-contained all the same, very much like the end of the first act of a three-act play. J.K. Simmons and Sissy Spacek. I highly recommend it. And she is introduced about two-thirds of the way through, and it was clear they were setting her up for something huge in season 2, and she is great in that. Night Sky has a lot in common with Stargate in terms of doorways. And
Mm.
I would love to get your take on it because It's one of those that expands very much like Lost. Like you get this idea that it's this size of a world, and it's not. No, you've plucked one petal off of a rose, and it's she's great in it. So excellent choice, man, for sure. This next one, for me, is someone whom I have not seen in nearly enough, but I would watch her read the phone book. Do you know who Shohreh Aghdashloo is?
From The Expanse, right? Yeah.
Yes, I have not seen The Expanse. And
Oh, it's a great show.
I decided that even if I didn't want to watch The Expanse, which I did, I would watch it just for her. So The Expanse is going to take a huge emotional commitment. And so I've got it like on, like the, like I'm sitting it back here, but, I cannot wait to watch it just for her. Her voice
Voice is
is
so good.
so good. Like she played Gozer in the redone Ghostbusters, and just extraordinary. Her voice is like it's like if gravel were musical. That's what
That's
her
so
voice is.
good.
She's
That's such a
just
good way
it's
of
an
putting it.
extraordinary sound, and the acting on top of it. I can't wait to see her in The Expanse. Tell me about her in The Expanse, like not in terms of the character, but like the range that she has.
She'll probably be your favorite character. I'll tell you that straight off the bat. She's
Oh, good.
phenomenal in it. She's so good. She's got such great material to work with, which I always find it
Oh,
so
good.
frustrating when there's an actor you really love in something and you're like, oh God, this is not the right script for you. But no,
Oh,
it's
wow.
perfect. She is commanding and just brilliant, breathtaking.
Isn't it frustrating when you have a great actor that gets paired with a character that you don't enjoy them with, that you don't enjoy them as?
Yeah.
Um, I'll be honest, that for me was Fred Willard in SG1.
Okay.
Did not care for Jacek. Did not. Um, I, I I felt that Fred Willard was wasted on Jacek. And
Mm,
it was or Jace was wasted on Fred Willard. Whichever one, Fred Willard is like one of the greats, I think, and it's just it just didn't the character didn't work for me. Uh, but moving on, who's this gentleman?
so going back to the way my brain works, uh, I was then thinking about Flash Forward and who else is in Flash Forward. It's actually funny because I forgot this person was in Flash Forward until I was kind of like doing some research, looking around, and I was like, oh my
Uh-huh.
God, Courtney B.
Yeah.
Vance is in Flash Forward. He was also more recently in The People v. O.J. Simpson. I think
Oh,
he's
is that
actually
any
married
good?
to Angela Bassett. Yeah,
Oh,
really good show.
okay.
But he's a fantastic actor, and he's someone that just commands authority. You see him on the right
Okay.
there, like he's just got like a presence to him that just I don't know. You kind of stand to attention, which is why I thought, okay, leading,
Okay.
from the Pentagon or something, something like that. Someone walking in to the SGC or wherever they're going to
Yeah.
be, and just everyone stops and notices. But it's maybe someone a little bit more quiet, but when they do speak, you listen to every word. He's kind of
Okay.
got that energy to him, and I thought he'd be perfect. I really really like him actually.
No, that's a great choice. It reminds me a little bit of Don Cheadle. I've not I had to do a double take there for a second. I don't think I've seen him in anything though, but I will definitely poke around and look at his IMDb. This next one on the list I enjoyed long before Lost. Um, I don't think there's anything in uh, his slate that I've seen that I haven't thoroughly enjoyed him in. And we've already tangentially brought him up in this podcast already.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Terry O'Quinn is extraordinary. And his arc on Lost actually, you know, I'm not going to spoil it. He has a
It's a
lot to
tragic story.
do.
It's a tragic story.
Yeah, he is. He is Lost's tragedy. I think you could definitely
Mm.
you could definitely call it that. He's just something else, and I think that uh, if we were to get him in Stargate or someone of his caliber, he would just he would just mop up the floor with anything that he's given. So it
I
sounds
think
like
that's an
you're pretty
incredible
similar to
choice.
that as well. Yeah.
I think that's an incredible choice, and he's another one where he could play good or bad. Like he could be a
Yep.
great villain or a great leader, like for like the SGC or
That's
wherever.
right.
I think that's such a good choice. I really like that. Yeah.
Yep. I completely agree. No, he's the emotional range and flexibility there is just is very strong. Who's this next gentleman?
So next up, I've got Rahul Kohli, who I've actually only seen in one thing, which is The Haunting of Bly Manor. Um, and he was also the lead in. Oh, the
Sorry
camera's going
about
funny.
that.
Okay, there we go. No
Go
worries.
ahead.
He was also the lead in the show iZombie, which I know was quite well in
Oh,
on iZombie. I don't know how big a role he had on it. I never saw it personally.
okay.
But he's like a bit of he's a fan, right? He's a fan of a lot of sci-fi and things like that.
Oh,
And
okay.
he was in the front running for a long time to be the live action version of Ezra Bridger in Ahsoka. And I
Oh,
love that choice. He was really kind of campaigning for the role. He was kind of like legit. Um, and
yeah.
he's kind of got this like I can only describe it as like the Michael Shanks effect, where he's kind of got like a rugged action hero part to him, but he's also got like a charming, nerdy kind of sweetheart side to him, and
You
that
don't
kind of
see him coming.
duality.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think that would be really interesting for another Daniel Jackson-esque role. I think he'd be a great choice for that. So
okay.
I recommend you check out some of his work. He seems like a lovely guy, like number one, but also really talented. So yeah, would love to
For
see him do
sure.
something like this.
Absolutely. Those characters are the heart and soul of those shows, and so you have to pick very well. Um, Here's another one from Lost, but not because of I don't believe like my she plays an excellent character in Lost, but she is not like my favorite role of hers is not in that. It's in another show. I have enjoyed this actress for years, and she can do absolutely anything. I would love to see her lead in something. Fionnula Flanagan, I don't even know if I pronounced
Mm,
the name right, um, is exceptional. She uh, in Lost, she essentially plays a temporal policeman. Uh, Very complicated character, very veiled, and she is just so friggin' good. I have adored her. Oh, the others, that's right. She was so good in that.
yeah, yeah.
Um, uh, she's been around forever, and you can see every single one of those characters behind the eyes. Like, just she's just joy, and I love
Yeah,
her
that's a
so
great
much.
choice. What would you have her to do? Lead SG1?
Uh, I would. Yeah, that's a because she's retired. She would be like of a retired age. I don't know.
I mean, you could see
I would
her
love to
being
see her
like
as an
the
alien.
leader of some culture, yeah, right? Like you go through the
Yeah,
gate and they meet people.
yeah,
I hope we get back to stuff like that, by the way. I hope it's with the shorter seasons, there's a danger that it's just going to be like one story kind of spread out and you kind of miss that, like, where are we going to this week kind of element to it. So I do hope we kind
yeah,
of get a bit of balance of that. But she would be great for something like that, like a really interesting person that they come across who, isn't all she seems to be or something like that. That'd be cool.
for sure. This next choice of yours, uh,
Mm.
I had never heard of him until I knew who he was, but I hadn't really spent any time with him until I was playing his character on my PC.
Yeah.
What's your story?
Uh, Very similar actually. So the choice is Cameron Monaghan, who he plays Cal Kestis in Star Wars Fallen. Was it Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order? Is the
Jedi
name of the
Fallen Order
game,
and Jedi Survivor.
and Jedi Survivor with Tony Amendola actually.
That's correct.
And I knew he was in Gotham, and I knew he kind of played their version of like the Joker. Um, but I never really, I sort of fell off that show after
Doesn't he play
maybe a
twins
season.
in that show?
Something I
Spoilers?
saw something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure. Um, but so
He
the
grew up
Fallen
on
Order game,
Shameless.
he's not just a voice actor.
Yeah.
It's very much performance capture where he's doing a lot of the work, and you can see a lot of the behind the scenes. That's really interesting, and he's just brilliant. And I'm kind of just waiting for him to blow up. Kind of like I
He's a
was,
big
he
break.
might maybe a little bit further ahead than Lloyd Everitt was, who I mentioned earlier. But again,
Mhm.
I think he's going to have a big franchise. He's going to have a big thing beyond like a video game. Obviously, there's not many bigger franchises than Star Wars, but I mean, even a live action version of Cal Kestis, because I mean, the character looks like him. It's completely based on him and his performance.
Mhm.
Um, and look, I wouldn't be lying. I would be lying if I didn't say that a part of this is because it would be a fellow ginger on Stargate, and I would love to see a ginger character
It's
represented
okay
on
if you've got
screen.
a bromance going for the guy. So I
um,
uh what's the term for that? There's another term for that. I have a my buddy Brett. He's the most he's a guy's guy. Uh like through and through. Like there isn't a shred of gay in this human being. And then I mentioned Ben Browder. And um like you guys if you have any young children you can mute for the next 20 seconds. I would mute now if I were you. But like he and I had a conversation once and I basically asked him, it sounds like if I could convince uh, Ben to sleep with you, you'd take him up on that. And he said, "Oh yeah."
not didn't
That's
miss a
how much
beat.
he loves Ben Browder. It's like, yeah, I would, no, I would totally do that. Like he loves Farscape, but
Wow.
and it's just for him, yeah. So tangent there, but no, Cameron is very talented, and I'm looking forward to sitting down at some point and watching Shameless. I don't know if I'll get through it because it's 11 seasons, but yeah, no, he's excellent. So yeah, more
Was he
gingers,
in
more
the
power to you.
is he in the American version of Shameless? I've never seen that either. I've seen the English version.
Cameron Monaghan is in the English version of Shameless.
No, I didn't know he was in the
He's in
American
all
version, is
11
what I was
seasons.
saying.
He's in the family. He grew
Mm.
up
Oh,
on that
okay.
show. He wasn't even 18 when they started it. So
Wow.
that's his show. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, good selection, man. Let me see here. Uh, so this next one uh was also in Lost, but he is my one exception for having been on Stargate because he was in it for a blip, and I would love him I would love him to take part in the new series in any way possible. Francois Chau,
Yeah, what a shout.
uh, Marvin Candle, Edgar Halowax, Namaste, and good luck. He is terrific. He played the Chinese ambassador in Disclosure, and was there. There he is, right there.
There you go.
He is essentially the lead scientist of the Dharma Initiative
Mhm.
in Lost, and I did not realize it, but Ninja Turtles 2, which I grew up on, that's
No
his
way.
face. Yeah, not the first one, but the second one. So
Okay.
he can play anything, and I've always thoroughly enjoyed him in anything that I've seen him in. I'm looking forward to watching him in Avatar: The Last Airbender. I know he's in a couple of episodes of that, but another one that you could do anything with that actor.
Sure, for sure. Yeah, that's a really great shout.
What
Um,
about your next guy?
so my next guy, I didn't really know much about until I kind of got to know him a bit producing Brad's podcast, and we brought him on. He was one of the, I think he was the second guest we recorded with, but I think his episode was released later. But that's Eric McCormack from, well, Will and Grace is probably what he's most known for, but I've only really
Travelers.
seen him in Travelers. Yeah, which is,
He's
are you a fan of
excellent.
Travelers? He's so good in that, right? He's
Oh
so
yeah.
good in that.
So
He's
disappointed that it was canceled.
I know it's devastating because he's got so much charisma, so much charm. Yeah, again, that kind of like action ready role.
Yep.
And he's built for leadership. You can see him being a high ranking officer or
Yep.
whoever really. I think he's just such a magnetic kind of actor that I think he would just slot right into the show.
Yeah, he's someone else that you can do anything with him. You just mold him
Hmm.
like clay. Brad was there when he got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
That's right. Yeah.
And no, that's an excellent choice for sure. This next one for me, uh, you could probably argue he's a B-level actor.
Hmm.
Um, but he's so extraordinary. We're getting near the end of these, and I kind of ranked them in that direction for me. But I don't see him as being unattainable. There is a movie called Whiplash that is in my top 10 of genre films, like niche movies. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Miles Teller or J.K. Simmons. Fair enough.
Yeah.
You mentioned him earlier, actually, and I almost squealed when you said his name. I can't remember what you was talking about now. But
Nice guy.
yes, yes, he is. I'll watch him in anything. Have you ever seen the film? What's it called? Up in the Air. Is it Up in the Air?
Up in the Air is one of
Uh,
my
the,
favorite movies of all time. I totally relate to the protagonist completely.
yeah.
And he plays, go ahead, finish your story.
Well, I was just going to say, J.K. Simmons is in one scene in that, maybe two. I can only recall one, and he is just—it's heartbreaking. He just tears your heart out your chest, shows it to you, and then just drops it on the table and walks away. And it's
He
so good. It's so good.
I You could give that scene to anyone and that scene is the film in one scene.
Mm.
Um, it follows a corporate guy and his protege as he goes around the nation. They live on planes and in hotels. They travel around the nation and they fire people. And this came out in 2009, 2010. So it was prescient, and or in terms of when it was in pre-production, it was prescient. And J.K. Simmons is one of the is an employee whom they fire, and it's the film has a montage of people as they're firing them, like it cuts back and forth as they're discovering that they're being fired, and all he does is he pulls out his wallet and his two kids, and all he says to the camera is, "So what am I supposed to tell them?" And that's how that scene starts. And by the end of it, um, they give him a shred of optimism, and it's a great scene between him and George Clooney, and Anna Kendrick, who
Mm.
was very close to being on this list, but she's been a star in an A-list star or at least had her own films for a while now. So, but that's yeah, yeah, he's brilliant. So,
He's so good. So deserved the Oscar for Whiplash as well. Whiplash is.
uh-huh.
I always say I can never choose a favorite film. I can only sort of choose five in any random order, and Whiplash is one of those five. I think it's
It's
one of
so
the best films.
intense.
It's incredible. It's like the most exciting sports movie ever made, and there's not a single sport in it. It's just the way it's kind of like designed feels like a sport movie,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he is just he is the life and soul of that film. Well, the lack of soul, maybe. He's one of the best cinematic villains. In fact, when you asked me earlier about scariest villains or scariest characters in film, Fletcher is absolutely an answer for that because he's terrifying. He's kind of terrifying, and even more so is that like when you see the end of that film, not to spoil it, you kind of think like, oh God, he kind of succeeded. Like he
Oh,
kind
you're
of
talking
wins.
Whiplash itself.
Yeah.
Okay. No,
He just so good.
I am I am torn on Whiplash. Brief aside, if you haven't seen it, it's an exceptional film because I grew up with a couple of teachers like that in the
Mhm.
arts who didn't settle for anything except for excellence, true excellence. Now they didn't hit us. They got in our faces, and like that kind of a person, you couldn't get away with now in a school system, I don't think. And um, I think that there is a place for teachers like that when the students, got to be careful here, are receptive to being pushed to the brink, to the potential of being broken. Because uh, we don't have, in my opinion, we don't have excellence anymore. And uh, I don't think it's fair to break someone. But I think that if you don't have an educator who absolutely puts you to the physical and mental limits of your abilities at some point in your life, you've not lived.
Mm.
And
It's a
I've
film
had
that's
a couple who
really
have done that to me, and
right.
uh, they are in my life to this day.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, it's really it's a film about cost and about it's not just about excellence, it's about what you're willing to pay for it. And that's not in terms of price, that's in terms well, not in terms of financial cost, that's in terms of your soul. And
Personal, your soul.
yeah. And I think the dinner table scene in that film, which isn't actually a J.K. Simmons scene, so I shouldn't be talking about. I'm just talking about Whiplash now. But I think it captures all of that so brilliantly in the fact that you know, um, I won't say any more about it. Just watch Whiplash,
Go
enjoy
and
that
watch
dinner
it.
scene,
You will
and
love
most
it.
importantly, enjoy J.K. Simmons in it because it's one of the best performances
Yep.
in the 21st century for sure. He
Yep.
won Best Supporting Actor for it, and um, honestly, it's one of the best supporting actor wins of the 21st century as well because it's a really
Yep.
really great performance. Actually, one thing you could start with is Whiplash started out as a short film before it was a feature length, and J.K. Simmons plays Fletcher in
Oh,
the
he
short film
does.
as well,
Okay.
which is brilliant. Yeah, it's not Miles Teller; it's a different actor playing the role of Andrew Neiman. Um, but it's really interesting to kind of compare the two as well because it's just the rushing or dragging scene. That's what the short film is. It's just that
Oh
scene.
man, it's one of those where you don't. I put Whiplash into the same category as Ted Lasso, in
Oh
that
yeah.
you don't have to be a fan at all of the subject matter in order to be
Oh
a
yeah.
thorough fan. Like I knew nothing about English football at all, and it gets you interested in English football if you give it a chance. And like started seeing a lot of their memorabilia everywhere. But it's that kind of a thing. Like you can enjoy that movie for those reasons. J.K. Simmons, if you've not seen National Champions, Tommy, please and go watch it before we meet because he plays the football coach in that, and he's almost as good in that as he is in Whiplash. It's an
He's
underrated movie.
he's also brilliant in a voice role in the Invincible show. Have you been watching Invincible
I'm
on
not.
Prime?
Okay.
So
Okay.
he's the voice of Omni Man in that, and
Okay.
it's incredible because he's got a great voice anyway. Like it shouldn't.
Yeah.
It's no surprise that he's great with a in a voice part. But yeah, he's really really good in that.
And in Portal 2, I adored him. So you hear him in voiceover over the second half of the game, and his character evolves over the. Did you ever play Portal 2?
I didn't. I actually only played the first one.
That was jumping. You just jumped. Oh man, yeah, you're missing out. But
Oh yeah.
not so much that you've got a kid, so bounce him on your knee while you're playing. But no, seriously, it's And Miles Teller was almost on my list as well when I thought up JK because he's pooped on a fair bit for films like Fantastic Four, but
Mm.
for anyone who loves Stargate and the military, if you've not seen Thank You for Your Service, uh, it's an extraordinary film. It's a hard film to watch. I watched it with my folks and we cried through the whole thing. They get the military right and the sacrifices that they make and how we just walk all over them. Um, Highly recommend it. So, who you got next
Sounds
for me?
good.
Yeah.
Um, the next one, what I really liked about creating this list is it's actually resurfaced some people for me that I hadn't really thought
Yeah.
about in such a long time. And
Yeah.
my next choice is Sarah Jones, who was in a show called Alcatraz,
Huh.
which was, I believe, J.J. Abrams produced it. It was
Look at
kind of
that.
like
She's in the same
after,
shot.
oh yeah, it was kind of after Lost was such a breakout, and he could kind of do what he wanted, and he kind of got this show off the ground. And
Interesting.
it was a really interesting kind of like sci-fi mystery thrillery kind of thing. And
Okay.
Sarah Jones was the lead, and she was just so good. And she's more recently been in the For All Mankind show, which I actually haven't
Okay.
seen yet, but I've heard For All Mankind is incredible, and it's
On
on
more.
my
It's going to be
list.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
My dad is looking
yeah,
forward to
yeah. That's
that
very
one. We're
true.
waiting for it to finish and then we'll sit down and watch it. But
Yes, good idea.
it's that's a multi-decade show that has a great concept. But no, she's a great choice. I've not seen her in anything, I don't believe. Um,
She's really good.
very,
She's really, really interesting.
very, very nice. The next one here, I she is Jonathan Frakes' godmother.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a clue that rings a bell for you.
No.
Anytime that I see her in a movie that I didn't know that she's in, she's one of those where it's like, oh my God, she's in the movie. Like, I get so excited. Alfre Woodard uh, is extraordinary. I first came across her in Star Trek First Contact. And basically, if I see her name coming up anywhere, I will go and watch her. She was the lead in a film called Juanita,
Okay.
and it was like an indie film, and she eats the stage in that movie. She's just extraordinary. She can do it all, and I just adore her. I could see her playing a lead, like in terms of the management of this facility or whatever it is that they're going to have, easily. I just adore this actress.
I don't think I've seen her in anything. That's cool.
You've not seen The Forgotten?
No.
Wow. Please go watch The Forgotten and let
Okay.
me know what you
I've got a
think.
whole list to take away from today.
Yeah, no. It is one of those films where like a third to half of the way through the movie, there's a twist, and your reality basically falls out of your head when you get a don't like go in, do me a favor, go into it cold
Mhm.
and let me know what you think. So she
Okay.
plays a detective. So yeah, who we
Nice.
got?
All right.
Who's
So this
your
is the
who's your number
last.
one?
This is
Or
the
not number
last one
one,
on
but
my
the
list.
last.
Yeah, yeah. So I've gone for Rockmond Dunbar, which honestly might be the coolest name in the world. That might be fair to say, right? Rockmond Dunbar. That's such a cool name. So I know
Yeah.
him from Sons of Anarchy and actually
Huh.
the last season of The Mentalist he was in as well, and of course Kiss Kiss
Okay.
Bang Bang, which is Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, by the way, is a brilliant film and everyone should watch it. It saved Robert Downey Jr.'s career. We wouldn't have Iron Man without Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Um,
Okay.
that what I like actually, this is a really good image because it shows. I mean, this guy is like he's a badass. He's kind of like big. He's a tough guy looking. But look at him here.
Okay.
Like he's playing a really intelligent, quiet, calm, calculating kind of guy. And um, I love people like that. I love someone that like looks a certain way and you think, okay, that's them kind of typecast and that's their career is playing this role.
Mm-hmm.
But he's managed to break out of that in so many different things where I just think like, okay, this is a really interesting actor here. And this is one of the ones where I think he'd make a great villain. I think he would make a great like main villain for the show that we kind of, in that kind of Apophis kind of role or that
Ooh,
Apophis kind of
okay.
mold, or someone that's kind of like the guy that we're up against over many seasons. I think he'd be great for that. I never saw Prison
Wow.
Break either, but yeah,
I
Rockman
can't really
Dunbar, coolest name in the
see him
world.
in anything. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I'll go and check out Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
You should
Um,
do. It's a Shane Black film, so it's got a really cutting, edgy script that just
okay.
sings. Um,
Okay.
yeah, great film.
No, this is solid. Very good. This last one for me that ends our list. I I first saw her in a film called Something's Gotta Give. Have you seen this movie?
No,
And she plays a character who is the sister of the lead, who uh, is a joy. She's a woman studies instructor in the film, and the the lead protagonist Jack Nicholson's character is arguably a misogynist, um, but he adores women, but he kind of eats them up.
Mhm.
Frances McDormand is extraordinary,
Yeah,
and like she is my number one favorite actor, probably
yeah, she's
that
so
I can
good.
think
She's
of.
so good.
Have you seen Three Billboards?
Outside Ebbing, Missouri, fantastic film. Yeah,
Oh man, she's so good in
so
that.
good.
She was the voiceover for Good Omens season one. I don't know if she's in season two and three. She plays God. Um,
That
and
makes sense.
she plays opposite Denzel Washington in Macbeth.
Yeah,
I watched her for that movie and like I was like I love Denzel, but I could take or leave Macbeth. She is Lady Macbeth. She is a razor. And it's black and white. If you've not got watched it, go and watch it. It is the text
directed
has
by her
not been.
husband.
That's correct. The text has not been messed with. It is Shakespeare's text. But and she. I went back and after I saw her in Something's Got to Give, I went back and watched her in Fargo, and
Yeah,
she's so good in this
she's so good in
thing.
that film. I rewatched it
Yeah,
like 3 months ago.
tapioca. Oh, it's so good. Have you seen the show?
It's I've seen the first two seasons. Yeah, I
Is it
think the
good?
first two seasons I've seen. Yeah, it's really
Is
interesting. It's
it's
really, really
adapted from
different to what I
the
was thinking.
story? Oh,
It's not really. If you
okay.
want to think about it like I don't know, like an anthology set in like the kind of the Fargo world. Like it's they're different each season's like a different time period,
Oh.
and a different
Okay,
story
so
with
each
like
season's a story in its own, not every episode.
contained. Yeah, yes. Each
Okay.
season is like
Okay.
the
Like American Horror
anthology.
Story.
It's maybe.
American Horror
I've
Story is
never
a
seen it.
seasonal anthology.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's exactly that then. It's
Okay.
exactly that. I think Paulie's in a season actually. I've not seen him on it yet, but I think Paul McGilliam's
Awesome.
on
Paul
there.
McGillian. Awesome. Yeah,
Um,
no. I
you
adore
know,
her.
what else Frances McDormand is great in, by the way, is Almost Famous. Have you seen Almost Famous?
I have not seen it, but if
She is
she's great in
incredible in that.
that, okay.
Yeah, she
All
plays
right.
the main character's mum, and kind of a villainous kind of role.
Julia Roberts.
Uh,
Okay, character. All right.
uh, sh- yeah, this is a classic Cameron Crowe film. Um, it's got a monster cast as well, actually, if I remember rightly.
Wow. Really?
Um,
Okay. No, this is I know it's not Julia Roberts.
no,
Okay.
it's Kate
Kate
Hudson.
Hudson.
Yeah, you've
Okay.
got Philip Seymour Hoffman in there. Um,
Wow.
Billy Crudup, Jason Lee. Yeah.
I forget who it was who wanted him, Philip Seymour Hoffman, to play Thomas Edison. He would
He
have
could
been
play
an awesome
anyone.
Thomas Edison. And we've
Yeah,
lost him for how I forget how many years now he's been gone, but what a delicious talent. And no,
yeah.
yeah, I will go and watch Almost Famous then, because if she's a
She
villain,
she's brilliant, and
I'm
it's
down.
honestly one of her best performances, which is saying something because
Yep.
you know you could make a Mount Rushmore of like best performances, and she would probably be three of the four heads.
Yeah. Yeah. She
She's so
is
good in Nomadland as well, which is a really good,
I
like
was
really
about
interesting
to
film.
say she is playing herself, but not. She's
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
so
in the film. She's
naturalistic.
kind of an observer in it. She goes
Yeah,
by Fern, but it's her, but it's not her. So she
yeah,
just decides. I don't. I need to look into this movie a little bit more because like it's one of these films where like it doesn't really have a script. It has an overall narrative,
yeah,
but the dialogue is like she goes and meets real people. In
yeah. She's the only actor in it, right? If I remember rightly, everyone
I
else is
think
just
so. Everyone else
themselves, and
is
then they kind of
themselves.
brilliantly directed by Chloe Zhao, by the way.
Chloe Zhao, that's it.
Yeah,
It's about people who live on the fringes and go from place to place, and they meet across country in camps and in Winnebago parks, and who just live on it's nomad land. They live on the edges of America
mm,
because they don't like to be fixed in one place. And despite what's behind me here, that life has always the idea of it has always been very attractive. Um, a little less so when you watch her poop in a bucket in her camper in the movie, but it's uh, you have to admire the free spirit for sure. Um, Tommy, this has been awesome.
it's been so
I
much fun.
didn't know how this would go. And I was like, you know what? This is an interesting idea. And I'd like to spend some time with my friend and have him back because Darren just had him on and I don't like that. And no, it was great. Um, but this was a lot of fun. So thank you for spending some of your afternoon or evening here with us to explore it. So
Thank you
um,
so much for having me. I've had a blast.
that is Tommy Valentine, formerly of the Companion. He was a producer with them. That was a fascinating time. My name is David Reed. You're watching the Stargate Oral History Project. If you enjoy Stargate and you want to see more content like this on YouTube, do me a favor, click that like button. It makes a difference with the show and will continue to help us grow our audience. And if you've got a Stargate friend out there who is a Stargate fan, then let them know about Dial the Gates and help our network grow a little bit. And if you want to get in touch with us on social media over here, we send out information about the availability of upcoming episodes. I'm out of town right now as you're watching this, but wanted to. I'm out of town right now as you're watching this, but we still wanted to get some shows out of the way. Tremendous thanks to my Patreons who help bring this show together week after week now. Um, I was in a different place just a few weeks ago, and then I decided to start it up, and it's changed so much for me, and has enabled me to probably do more content than I was expecting to, because it's put me really in that much of a different place. So I must thank everyone for that because that's a big deal. um, it, been shown so much love, and thank you so much for it. My name is David Reed for Dial the Gate. I appreciate you tuning in, and I will see you on the other side.